Thank you so much for the opportunity. I loved in your opening when you said the importance of your reaction to something. I think I'm a little more like Esther in Breakfast, but I would like to be a little more like the woman with the paint and metal story that you tell. And
Tell it.
Okay. Someone with a very large RV was out in a park, and you were only supposed to make a turn if you were shorter than 40 feet.
Scraped the big bus on a gate, took the gate out and messed up their beautiful new bus. And Esther wanted to die for her. It just looked so tragic. And when she came out of the bus, Esther said, "I'm so sorry that this happened to you." And she said, "It's just paint and metal."
Oh, I want to be that person. And I'm wondering how I can get there, because when this weekend had involved going to Sacramento and then coming here, and when it's 30 minutes before I'm leaving for the airport and you get the text that your flight's been canceled and you're trying to go through the scenarios, I would say one good thing that happened is, as I'm finding out there's no flights, the train doesn't get you there, and I'm remembering the dashboard card that Esther sent all of us that says, "Things are always working out for me." And
that's that general statement that will soothe you. And until you are soothed, the immediate progress on the immediate subject can't begin to be seen by you. But if you realize that things are always working out for you, in fact, things have already been working out for you, it's just a matter of how are you going to respond to the current condition, and are you going to stay on the wave of them working out, or are you going to take a detour and not allow things to continue to work out for you? We're glad that you heard that, because that was very precise. Because if you are responding to the condition, then you're taking constant detours. But if you believe that things are always working out for you, then you can allow the universe to surprise and delight you in remarkable ways that in time will give you such a sense of being seen, being understood, being cared for, being worthy, that then and only then can you go out in the world trusting that things are all right. If you have to plan every step you take before you can trust, if you have to have all your documents right in place and everything all lined up, and then something happens because law of attraction has brought some cooperative components together for you and for others, and so it's not according to your plan, and then you freak out because things have changed according to your plan, just know there's a bigger plan. There's a bigger, longer plan. But it takes some practice. It takes some practice.
So even if it starts with you kind of having a not great reaction, as long as we catch it in time, we can shift it?
Well, it's not even a matter of catching it in time. That's not really the attitude that we want to evoke from you, because that sounds like you have to be vigilant. That's like more of that preparation stuff. Sometimes Esther would watch situations like that where something would affect a whole lot of people, maybe all the people in the airport or all the people on this flight anyway. And she often looked around and saw most of them calmer than she felt. And then she would justify it by saying, "I got places to go, people to see, and things to do. I have a tight schedule." It's the reason that they all fly in the day before. Nobody's going to take a chance on a flight that doesn't get them here in time to meet up with all of you. And so they have some long-range planning that puts them at ease. But it's more about just trusting that things do work out. And if you remind yourself that often enough, the evidence of that will show itself to you. Also, you're really interesting. We love you so much. You know what's coming next. But you are inconsistent in your approach to life. You plan everything, and then you want a day where you just don't have any plans because you want to feel free. I say, you can't have it both ways. Do you feel free, or do you need to plan every single thing? Just know that you get what you feel. And so when something happens that touches that sore spot, that helps you to know how you feel, then it is helpful to remind yourselves with as many examples as you can of how things always work out. No big deal. Someone a few years ago started a sentiment, and you all picked it up for a while. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. And when you put it into that perspective, then you begin to realize that you do create your own reality, but that you create it from the essence of how you feel.
So if we can just keep in mind that it's working out and not to sweat it, that
it's like putting it into perspective. It's like stepping back far enough that you've got it in perspective. When you acknowledge how much is working out, then this little blip in relationship doesn't seem so significant, and it isn't. But if you let each or a lot of those bumps along the way attract your undivided attention so that you activate it and make a bigger deal of it than you need to, then it's a stronger player in your vibration, and that's the way you throw more resistance on your trail. So when we say to you that your inner being knows where you stand on everything, in relationship to everything that you want, knows where you are in relationship to everything you want, and is calling you through your own resistance to it. Understanding that there's resistance and not worrying about the resistance, knowing that you can be called around and over and under and through the resistance. So let's say that something like this happens. Your plane is delayed or canceled. And because of where you stand in this belief system, you're trying to prove your value to an employer maybe, or you're already mad at this particular airline because they broke the wheel on your suitcase. That happened to Esther this weekend too. She said, now it's a sled and it's heavy. You have things that are active within you. So your flight is canceled. How you respond to this situation has everything to do with the next resistance that you throw on your trail. And so that's the only reason that you want to be as light as you can. Well, not the only reason. The biggest reason is because it feels better to stay in alignment with the whole idea of well-being. But if you focus on what went wrong, and you talk about it, and you rail against it, and you make a thing about it, and you keep it active in your vibration, now you just dot your trail with more resistance. And the more you dot your trail with resistance, even though your inner being doesn't care, and your inner being doesn't mind that you have resistance, and your inner being is perfectly capable of guiding you through the resistance, the more resistance that's on your trail, and, oh, hear this, the more recently active that resistance is, then the more it's going to throw up a smoke screen, which makes you unclear about the call of your inner being. Ooh, didn't you like that? Your inner being's still calling you, but the more active and recently active your resistance is on any subject, then the less likely you are to hear the call of your inner being. And so you're going to stub your toe here and stub your toe here. And if you're that responding to conditions person that we were describing before, every time you stub your toe, you spew more resistance on the trails. And then you say, I can't win for losing. Then you say things like 2 steps forward, 3 steps backwards. You start assessing the situation and compounding your own resistance. And meanwhile, your inner being, your blessed inner being, is not oblivious to your resistance, but not affected by it. So your inner being continues to call you to the degree that you have shown your inner being that you want to be called. You've been asking and asking and asking and asking and asking. This is a strong, 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 strong desire. And your inner being doesn't say, strong desire, but a lot of resistance. We'll give him a break and we won't call him in a strong way. Your inner being calls you in proportion to the power of your desire, and the resistance that you've got on your trail then beats you up. Ooh, don't you like knowing this? So, what do? Do you get rid of resistance? Well, sure, if you can. Or you could just understand that it's there and not make a big hairy deal out of it. You can stop making the way your life is unfolding moment by moment be the reason for your exaltation or not. You can stop trying so hard to be perfect and just be a delicious, deliberate creator who has to know some of what you don't want in order to know what you do want, and who sort of takes it all in that happy way that you meant to take it, just gathering up and enjoying, and most of all, being surprised and delighted by your life. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, I need to know every single thing that's going to happen, exactly when it's going to happen. I don't want any surprises. I need to know. And I will get an entourage that's big enough that I will keep everything in my life in perfect balance all the time, and nothing will ever go wrong in my life. You can't say that. And sometimes you do. And also say, oh, universe, surprise and delight me. You want to be loose so that you're ready for the magic that the universe has lined up for you. And there's a lot of it, you see. And some of the best magic comes in those unpredicted ways when you get on a different airplane. Because in your vortex were things that airplane ride was not going to accommodate. And this one will. So you say, oh, something went so wrong. Not realizing that she is on the new airplane, not the old one. Okay?
Excellent. Thank you so